What up, guys? Digital Slang, welcome back. So I'm very intrigued by the Note 20. I wanted to pick this phone up and I'm going to tell you why. Now, I've had this phone for about 24 hours and this phone is very confusing, right? Where does it fit? Where does it belong? Why does it even exist? I've been saying and asking why this phone exists now since the release. And as of today, I still stand by that, but I wanted to check it out. And the main reason I wanted to check this phone out is because of this phone right here, the Galaxy S20 Fan Edition. I love this phone. I have been using this phone. Last night I did put my SIM in the Note 20, and in a week or two I'll come back with a full review. Now, I've also said in the past that I would never pay $1,000 for this phone, and thankfully I didn't. I did trade in a phone, and I got this phone for a little over $450. So at that price, I feel like I can give this an honest review because I would never spend $1,000 on this phone. It wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be making this video if I had to spend $1,000 on this phone. So we're going to talk about the Note 20. Where does it fit? Again, not a full review. My first impressions of using this phone for 24 hours are very good. I enjoy it so far. And I'm going to tell you why. Let's talk about the specs really quick. Now, build quality on here. Look, it's plastic, just like the S20 FE. I don't mind it. To be honest with you, it's not as slippery as glass. It looks better in my opinion. It's much lighter than glass. Now, the big outcry over this phone though, because it was plastic, it was $1,000. And that's, look, point blank, where did Samsung mess up with this phone is starting price. $1,000, definitely not worth it. Why is the S20 FE $699? When this is $1,000? Like, and they came out at the same time. Like, you shot yourself in the foot when you released both of these around the same time period, because they're very similar phones in my opinion. And in some ways, the S20 FE stands above. So $1,000, your pricing is way off. If this phone would have been $699 alongside of this, or $750 maybe, it is a little bigger display. You do have the S Pen, but you are lacking 120 hertz. So I don't feel like Samsung really knew where to put this phone. I'm not really sure. I still don't know why it does exist, but we're going to talk about it now. 128 gigs of non-expandable storage with 8 gigs of RAM. And it's a little different on the Note 20 Ultra. Again, Note 20 Ultra, much more expensive, a much more premium build, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of starting storage with expandable storage. So they should have come and given us some kind of expandable storage on here, because 128 gigs for some people is just not enough. And the fact that I can't throw a micro SD card in here and add more storage to it, I just don't understand it. It's just another puzzling thing with this phone. Like, why 128 gigs? Why $1,000? Why 60 hertz refresh rate for a $1,000 phone? 1080p display, flat display. When the S20 FE, 1080p display, flat display, 120 hertz refresh rate, $300 cheaper. It's just very puzzling to me where this phone belongs. Now, the back, the camera bump is not as big, it's not as prominent as the S20, as the Note 20 Ultra, but it is a little bigger than the bump on the S20 Fan Edition. Now, we do have a 12 megapixel wide, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 64 megapixel 3x zoom. So 30 times zoom on here compared to 50 on the Note 20 Ultra. But overall, look, I'll say it again, I have enjoyed this phone. Granted, it's only been 24 hours, but I have enjoyed this phone. Now, picture quality on here, I haven't taken a bunch of pictures, and I will when I do the full review, but comparing it to the S20 FE or the Note 20 Ultra, very similar. It all has Samsung standard saturation. You get that saturated look in your pictures. Overall, if you put all three of these side by side, and I will do that in the full review, you're not really going to be able to tell the difference between them unless you are trying to zoom in on something. Now, battery life on here, on the S20 FE, 4500 milliamp battery, and the Note 20 Ultra, 4500 milliamp battery. On here, The Note 20, 4300 milliamp battery. So again, why a smaller battery? I've heard people say it's because of the smaller form factor in the Note 20 versus the Note 20 SE. Well, that doesn't answer the question about the S20 FE. This has a smaller form factor than the Note 20, but yet a slightly bigger battery. Now, I expect battery life to be really good on here. Battery life on the S20 FE is fantastic, even running 120 hertz. So 60 hertz with a big battery, 1080p display. Battery life on here should be really good. And of course, I will be trying this out. Now, your S Pen on here. There is better latency on the S Pen than what was on the Note 10 or the Note 10 Plus, but not as good as the Note 20 Ultra. Physically, the S Pen is exactly the same as the S Pen on the Note 20 Ultra. The only difference is the latency. 26 milliseconds on the Note 20 compared to 9 milliseconds on the Note 20 Ultra. But honestly, it's a wash. You are not going to be able to tell the difference using an S Pen. So as far as I'm concerned, that difference in the latency is just, you're not able to see it with the human eye is what I'm saying. Now we also do have an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, and of course Face Unlock does come with this phone. Now your hole punch on here is actually slightly bigger than the hole punch on the Note 20 Ultra. So things on here are just weird. They're all over the place with the Note 20. Overall, I've enjoyed it over the past 24 hours, but what is it? Where does it belong? What's a good starting price? It's definitely not $1,000. 700 to 750, at least 24 hours later, that's where I'm thinking this phone belongs, because there are some things I do like about it. It has a little more weight to it than the S20, so it feels a little more premium in my hands. It's definitely not as heavy or slippery as the Note 20 Ultra. So I do like it so far. I have enjoyed using it, and I am going to keep using it. The flat display, I love a flat display on any phone. So we're going to see where it belongs. Again, over the next week or two, I will be coming back with a full review, but it is a very confusing phone, right? Price point, Samsung, you definitely got the price wrong on this phone. It belongs in a different price range. It just does. It's not worth $1,000 because of what else is out there. That's what's making it not worth $1,000. Phones like you released around the same time, the S20 FE, $700. Some things on this phone are just better than what's on the Note 20. So you got the price wrong on this, no doubt about it. But where does it belong? I am going to test it. And again, I only paid a little over $400 for it. So a little different. I would never pay $1,000 for this phone, nor would I recommend you going out and buying this phone for that price. Much better options out there. But the Note 20, I do have the green version. We are going to be testing it. That's it for the video, guys. I'll be back soon. Peace.